Saving money can be so hard. Think about all of the things you can buy and all of the places you can go. But it turns out the state of Texas is better at saving than the rest of us. In fact, Texas has the biggest savings account of any state in the US. Most people call it the Rainy Day Fund. And in 2018, the Rainy Day Fund was worth almost $11 billion. So, as Texans, we're good, right? Well, you think so. But the Rainy Day Fund is not actually that easy to tap into. And that leaves a lot of people asking, do Texans benefit from the Rainy Day Fund? Let's back up. In the early 80s, when Madonna ruled the airwaves and everyone wore scrunchies, Texas was making a lot of money from oil and natural gas. So it spent a lot too. State services, schools, infrastructure, tax revenues from oil were helping pay for all of this. Everything was great until it wasn't. Oil prices went bust. The state made less money in tax revenue. People lost their jobs too. More people collected unemployment from the state, so Texas had less money and more expenses. Texas lawmakers were determined never to end up in that situation again. So, in 1988, Texans approved a constitutional amendment creating the Economic Stabilization Fund, aka the Rainy Day Fund. Their goal? To guarantee that Texas would always have a pot of money to dip into during hard times. And it's still around, kind of like the piggy bank you had as a kid, but much, much bigger. So, how does a rainy day fund work? Texas gets taxes from oil and gas production. In 1987, Texas made $531.9 million in oil tax revenue and $599.8 million in natural gas tax revenue. Those numbers became the benchmark. From then on, anytime oil or gas revenue goes over those levels, 75% of it goes into the rainy day fund. And through the years, despite some fluctuation and rededicated funds, that money has added up. So basically, whenever Texas oil and natural gas has a better year than they did in 1987, the fund gets money. I mean, 1987 is hard to beat, but that works. But what about spending all that money? We talked to Edgar Walters from the Texas Tribune.
To access the Rainy Day Fund, you actually need a 2/3 vote out of both chambers, the House and the Senate.
Well, that sounds easy. But while money is flowing in, not much is flowing out. So, do Texans actually benefit from the Rainy Day Fund? It depends on who you ask. Critics point out that since the Rainy Day Fund is tax money, the government is basically taking from the economy without giving back. The nearly $11 billion that are in there now, that's $11 billion that taxpayers haven't gotten to use, even during what most people would consider hard times.
Hurricane Harvey poured historic amounts of rainfall on the Houston area. We saw a lot of public clamoring for lawmakers to withdraw some money from the Rainy Day Fund to help pay for hurricane repairs.
Hurricane Harvey. What better time to use tax funds we saved for a rainy day? But lawmakers didn't withdraw anything. Well, they didn't get the chance. The Texas legislature doesn't meet full-time. To address the disaster, the governor would have had to call a special session. He preferred to wait for federal funds instead. People agree the fund should be used someday. It's just a matter of what is important enough to unlock those doors.
You know, people who are more fiscally liberal and would like to see greater investment in infrastructure and public schools and the like will often go to the legislature and say, we can't cut public programs while we have this much money in the bank.
But lawmakers aren't totally against using the Rainy Day Fund. They just have to agree on how. One
cycle, they used the Rainy Day Fund to pay for a economic incentives / job creation program. The Rainy Day Fund has really run the gamut as far as what it's been used for.
So the Rainy Day Fund isn't untapped. Take a look at this graph again now that we've included the fund's expenditures. They fluctuate too. But even though spending can be really tempting, the fund was designed to offer Texans economic security. So what do you think? Should we be withdrawing more so Texans can benefit now? Or should we keep saving for a rainy day?